Auzubillahi minash-shaytanir rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Under the main topic of leave a legacy, we had last time reached a point where we were discussing expanding our time perspective into future. The point is, what we were discussing is that in order to have...
Record it again completely. Okay. That's okay. Keep going, just as you said.
In order to constitute a legacy which connects past with the future through the present, there has to be the expansion of a time perspective. We have to understand the time in this respect, that what is time and what is its connection from the past to the future. If we understand the importance of this connection, then only we will understand our own importance, that what role we have to play in expanding the connection from the past to the future, and what role we have to play in the present. We have to live in the present, and we have to play our part so that the present becomes the linchpin between the past and the future. Last time we had, in fact, reached this point, and we had discussed it with reference to ayat also. I'll repeat only a couple of points from here. These are, in fact, it is not repetition, but I will add a couple of points to the last discussion on this slide, and then we'll move forward, inshallah. Expanding our time perspective into future is useful for understanding events and issues in order to solve the issues of the present, which we are facing, the events which are appearing in the present, and we are facing the problems. It is very important to understand these events and issues, so in order to solve the problems of the present. Now, in this connection, when we talk of future, usually among Muslims, we have found that we usually say we don't know the future. Future is in ghaib. And why we say this, it is in ghaib? Because we don't understand the meaning of ghaib. And we don't understand the difference between the ghaib and the ghaib. That is why we have a misconception about the future. As a child, I have been, since childhood, we have been attending the orations in the masjid, particularly on Fridays. And in those orations, in those khutbat, we were even told at that time, and even now in some mosques and in madrasas, our children are being told that you cannot predict the future. If you say that tomorrow it is going to rain, then you have no iman. You have no belief in God. So you have to have an absolute iman without understanding the future, that what will happen in the future, and everything which will happen, it is up to the will of God, as if it is without any rule or regulation, or without a sunnat, or without any law. So we are not allowed to think into future. So here the main point which I am making with this reference is that future is not ghaib. Ghaib is which is not unseen, which is not seen. It is present, but it is not seen. We can see only the reflection which is returned to our eyes, which entered through our iris, which is projected on the retina. Only the light of 7 colors, which returns the image to the retina, we can see only that. That is shahada. But what is beyond that, on either side, beyond ultraviolet, beyond infrared, into the X-rays, or in any other space or time, which we cannot see, that is ghaib. But it is present. There's a difference between ghaib and ghaib. Ghaib is absent, which is not present. But ghaib is which is not seen. Ghaib is absent. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for himself says that when you are doing this, he's addressing the kuffar, when you are doing this, I was not ghaib, I was not absent, I was present. So for Allah, there's nothing absent. So we have to understand for us, something may be absent, something may be which we cannot see. But for God, there is no such thing. In the Quran, we have seen that at many places, Quran addresses in the present, and in the next verse we find it is addressing in future, and then in some other ayat it is addressing about the same event in the past. So what is that? I've explained this. This is called the cone of light. In my book, Know Your God, about the time, I have explained this. The Big Bang, when the Big Bang took place, when there was the phenomenon of Ratkan, Fafataknahuma, when this Big Bang took place, it took place in every direction. It is not in a direction. It is not like an arrow. It is all around. Today, what the scientists are reporting that they have had a glimpse of the old galaxy appearing now, or they had some glimpse of the some phenomena of the Big Bang. They are just referring to the extension of one point from the point of singularity into the present. And we may find it here, but at the same time, it has gone back, it has gone right, it has gone left, it has gone up, it has gone down. It is all around. So time is all around, space is all around. So on one side where we are seeing, it may be future, it may be present. But if we look at the other side, it may be past. But we extend it further, it may be future. So for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything which is written, which is projected on the disk, and the hard disk on Lohal Mahfuz, it is all before him. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no future, no present, no past. It is only for us that we are looking at the events through the cone of light in a direction. But Quran simply says about the universe, about the expansion theory of universe, La Musun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I'm expanding it. And when it says, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells that He's expanding, it is expanding in all directions. It is not unidirectional. So we have to understand these two concepts. When we understand these two concepts and we place ourselves in the present, we live in the present, then only we will understand the importance and the purpose of my creation, why I'm created, why I'm here, what is my link with the past and the future, what I have to contribute. And then that makes the question clear why I should leave a legacy. It is one of the important purposes of my creation that I have to create a legacy linking the past and the future within my limitations, within my sphere. I cannot do it for the entire universe, that at least I can do it for myself, connecting the past, expanding the past into the future through my present. Researchers have noted this point we had discussed last time, that the sense of history was much greater in the ancients. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also tells us that the ancients, they had developed this world, they had developed the earth, they had plowed the earth much more with much more strength and energy than we are doing today. In this connection, there is one, not one, but there are in fact many, but I have brought one ayat only. Ma qadarullah haqqa qadrihi wal ard jami'an qabdathu yawm al qiyamat. And then was samawat matwiyatun biyaminihi subhanahu wa ta'ala amma yushrikun. What is the importance of this ayat? It has many dimensions, but in this context which we are discussing, here we have to understand different aspects of time. As in the beginning, I said that we don't understand time. The Zoroastrians also made a mistake. They extended this theory and they created their own trinity like Christians. Ahura Mazda, Zurvan, and Angramenyu. They created a trinity of Ahura Mazda, Zurvan, and Angramenyu. So what is Ahura Mazda? They think that Ahura Mazda is the creator, God. Although when we read Avesta, it gives the impression as if it is like Quran. It is a religion of unity of God. But over a period of time, they developed their own trinity. Ahura Mazda separately, a god of creation, and Zurvan, time. In Quran also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I am time, Zaman. But they extended this theory, like the Christians, they extended the theory of Ruh, and they extended it so much, they exaggerated so much that they made it a self-sustaining, self-existing, a separate entity with God, like his son, according to their theory. So here also, we have to understand the concept of time. Quran gives us the concept of time. Today we have started discussion about time. That is why I'm referring to this aspect. Time has been explained with different dimensions. Heen, which may mean a, a small span of time, or even a lifetime of a person. Small span of time, or even lifetime, like the life imprisonment of Yusuf alayhi salam, hatta heen, till his life. That span of his time, he was given the life imprisonment. Till those people who were in that prison, they die. There was no other way out except that there's something happens and somebody is taken out from the jail, from the prison. So, heen, saat, asr, dahr, these are different concepts of time. So, here we have to understand the concept of time where I am existing. I am not time myself. Previously, people thought that time and space are different dimensions. They thought that electric force and magnetic force, they are the different dimensions. They thought that the weak and nuclear forces, they are separate forces, but now say there's a nuclear force. So there's one nuclear force with two dimensions, with two aspects. There is the electromagnetic force. They say now it is one force, and they say space and time, this is one aspect, one phenomenon, one dimension. So we have to understand, I have to understand what does here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mean by these ayat. Ours all matter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that all matter at the time of Qiyamah. Qiyamah is a separate phenomenon. Winding up the universe is a separate phenomenon. Ending the life here on the planet is a separate phenomenon, and my death, the death of an individual, death of people is a separate phenomenon. But we mix up all these things together. These are separate phenomena. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to Qiyamah, and at the time of Qiyamah, it's a great science that when this earth, matter, material of the earth, it will be in the grip. The entire universe, other universe, besides the earth, all other universe, the remaining universe, all the samawat, they will be separately mutabiyat on one side. Recently in the India-Pakistan war, you must have seen how this, but if we refer to the ayat, wasafat, watayr safat wa yakbidna. This is a scientific phenomenon which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining us, is pointing out to, that the birds, they safat, the nearest meaning of safat is formation, squadron formation, for example. They move in formations. Hundreds and thousands of birds, they move in safat. And then yakbin, they interlock themselves. When in the air fight, in the fight of the in the battlefield, in the aerial fight, when any plane is hit, before that there is the process of yakbidna, kabad. It is taken into grip. It is called enveloping. Enveloping, and then it's locked. When it is locked, then it cannot escape the missile. Then whatever maneuvers it may make, but it cannot escape the missile. Then the only alternative for the pilot is to parachute. That is why they parachuted and they left the plane and those were destroyed. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to a great phenomenon, whereas the entire universe, all these samawat will be on one side, but only the earth. Allah has the power. When the time of Saat comes, it will be the earth only that will be in Surah Al-Haqqa. We see that about will happen to the earth. And people will say, Malaha, what has happened to it? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Oh Allah, I have sent my signal. I have sent my command to it. That is what is happening in the earth. So here we have to understand that how the time operates, and within the time, how the things operate. In Jerusalem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the ayat, at that time, the time was streaming in three different streams at the same point. The food remained fresh. The man died for 100 years, and the donkey lost his all flesh and skin. It was only skeleton. So there were three streams of coronans. The time flows in coronans. So we have to understand the concept of time. This is not just in vain that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has pointed out these things, but we have to go deeper to understand Quran. It is for those who think into it. It doesn't require PhD. It doesn't require any MSc. It requires just thinking, reflection, fikr, zikr, taqul, tadabbur into Quran. When we fix ourselves in this position, and we link ourselves, ittaqullah haqqa tuqatihi. Be conscious of all these phenomena of God. We can be conscious of God only through the mazair of God, the phenomenon of God, haqqa tuqatihi. And then this is the further, part of the phenomenon that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that one day I will finish it. I will wind it. That is another separate process. I will wind it up, entire universe, and then rewind it, nuiduhu. I will rewind it. So what does this mean? As I said, I'm discussing very, very little aspect of time. So what does this mean? Quran tells us that some people, kuffar, they will be in the heaven, in the hell, khalidin, khuld. What is khuld? Eternity, we have translated eternity. Except God, there is no eternity. There's no eternal thing. Everything which is created is not eternal. It cannot be eternal. Everything which is created has to be wound up. It will be rewound. So there's no eternity for any created thing. When the word khuld appears, it is for the created things. God is only eternal. Nothing else is eternal. Everything else keeps on changing. So here, this gives us another aspect of the time, that time is not eternal itself, as the Zoroastrians projected it. Only eternal concept of eternal gives us the concept that God is eternal. Everything created, anything which is created is not eternal. Even the Jannat and Jahannam are not eternal. Quran tells us they will finish one day. And this is ayat, I think it's better I project that ayat before you because it might create a confusion. Khuld state of, I'll go back to this explanation again. Khuld, it is the state of perpetual existence, which has been translated as eternity, whereas even eternity is not eternal for the created thing. Only Allah is eternal. Nothing else which is created is eternal. It will change. It will die. Nuidu, Allah will recreate it. Allah will rewind it. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is eternal. Even Jannah, Jahannam, universe, everything. Look at this ayat. This will explain. Surah 11, ayat number 108. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they will remain in the Jannat, or they will remain in the heaven, as long as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants this arz, wants this universe. This will change. And this is the translation. So we have to keep this in view, and then this takes us to the concept of worldview. What is our worldview? Muslims have abandoned, not understood, they are not ready to understand the worldview. If we understand the worldview, then we will try to understand all these things, and we will understand all these things ultimately under the spotlight of Quran. Science may say one thing today, tomorrow it is progressive, it will say something else. We cannot translate Quran into the terminology of science today. Science will keep on progressing. It will help us in understanding Quran more and in a better way. So let us understand science to understand Quran better, but we cannot translate it in the terminology of Quran today. The terminology may change tomorrow. But we have to understand the worldview. If we understand the worldview, we'll have to understand the time also. And when we understand the time, we will have to understand our position in the present, my purpose of creation in the present, why I was not created 10,000 years back. My purpose of creation today is to link as a linchpin the past through my present with the future, and I have to leave a legacy. Otherwise, there is no purpose of my creation. There's no purpose. So I go back to read it slowly so that this point becomes clear. Last time we had left the discussion here. The concept of present, for example, I've quoted only one social scientist, Alice Boulding, calls it 200 years present. What was the present of Isa alayhi salam? We cannot study the history of Isa alayhi salam just when he was born. We'll have to study history of Maryam. It is all linked. There's a purpose. And we can't understand the history of Maryam unless we understand the history of Ale Imran. We have ignored completely Ale Imran, the phase of Ale Imran. The deen which we are following, Deen Ibrahimi, it started in a family under a patriarch. In Ahl, Quran uses the word Ahl Bayt for the wife, Sarah. This is in the family. And then it came in the offspring, Bani Yaqub. It was expanded. And then it was further expanded in Ale Imran. The patriarchy, the Ahl Bayt, and the Bani, they were left here. Now it was further expanded. Zakaria, Imran, Maryam, Isa, Yahya. And at that point, it was further, the Al Imran was sealed. And then the history goes back to Quraysh. Takarrush. The process of Takarrush started. The progeny of Ismail who had left went to different parts of the world. They were, through the process of Takarrush, they were brought back, and they are called Quraysh. Quraysh is not one tribe. It's not Banu Quraysh or something. They were, through the process of Takarrush, by fair, and then Qusay played an important role, and then Abdul Muttalib played an important role. So there we have to link it. So there, when we talk of present, then present is connected with the past, and it is connected with the future. So here, this social scientist says that at least we have to take a span of 200 years on the either side. That present begins 100 years ago today. If I'm talking of today, this scientist says, this is theory. This is theory. We are discussing theory. On the day of birth of those among us who are centenarians, its other boundary is the 100th birthday of the babies born today. So today, I am linked 100 years back with the past at least. Otherwise, I may be linked through 500 years, but at least 100 years. And now through the babies, I am linked through with the future. Therefore, it becomes incumbent for me to understand my importance, my purpose, and leave a legacy. This present is continuously moving moment. It's not static. It is a vector. It is a movement. It is moving. It is a vector. Always reaching out 100 years in either direction from the day we are in. Consider again cone of light I've explained. Not explained, but I pointed out. Just I pointed out cone of light, but I've explained it in detail in my book, Know Your God. We are linked with both boundaries of this moment by the people among us whose life began or will end. At one of those boundaries, 5 generations each way in time. Last time, Dr. Umdu Salama had tried to explain this. I pointed out towards the hadith, which is talking in terms of generations. Generations on either side, but generations on one side. The hadith uses the word which he is tried to explain generations. So here the he is then summing up, trying to sum up that 5 generations on either side. This is the social scientist. But my point is not this may be wrong, totally wrong. The point is that we have to think into Quran while taking into consideration the context of Quran, within Quran, the ahadith which are relevant, and then all the sciences which are relevant. Then only we can move in a direction and find our purpose. It is our space, one that can move around in separately, in move around in directly. We can move directly in our own lives and indirectly by touching lives of young and old around. These two boundaries. Either I have to work through my own self, and at the same time, I have to touch the boundaries of my forefathers, my patriarch, my father, my grandfather, my family, my traditions, my culture. My own conduct is my conduct, my kirdar. But when it becomes the family's conduct, it is culture. And when the family's culture of all families comes together in a group, it becomes culture, expanded culture. And at the higher level, it becomes civilization. That is how it expands. But at the beginning, if in my character I'm not good, my family's culture, tradition is not good, my culture as a Muslim, today we feel at many places ashamed to call ourselves Muslims. Kindly forgive me for this. In London, Siddiqui pointed out, the director of MIHE, that I was giving a lecture. A lady stood up. She said that I want to become Muslim. I want to accept Islam. I'm convinced. Islam is very good. I want to accept Islam, but I don't want to be a Muslim.
Well,
It is a slap on our face. She was slapping our character. I don't want to be a Muslim, but Islam, yes, I want. Quran, yes, I want. This is our culture. This has become our culture. We are telling lies. That's why people don't trust us. And indirectly touching the boundaries of the young and the old, how we respond to fundamental uncertainty of life. Now here comes the question of takdir and kismat, that, oh, this is my kismat, I'm poor. It is my takdir that I'm poor. Kindly read this ayat again and again. And also, الشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. What is takdir? The fundamental factor of life, the fundamental factor of universe is, on the one hand, it is certain the sun will rise at the given time. You can predict for 5 crore years it will rise. And on the other hand, there is uncertainty. When the Saat will come, sun may not appear. because of any accident in the universe, in the galaxy. One najm is a hawa, is a vein, I don't know. Time, I don't know. So it's a balance in our concept and our belief between certainty and uncertainty. But what I have to do when I find that the uncertainty is equally important, there's a theory of certainty, there's theory of entanglement, and these theories are now scientific theories. The fundamental uncertainty of life is, we can understand from this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I have determined qadar, I have determined your dimensions. I have determined your features. I don't have the features of jinn. I don't have the features of malaika. I don't have the features of sun and moon. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me the limited features as a human being. Allah has limited my dimensions, my height, my energy, my weight, everything. It is limited. Everything is limited. I am also limited. So Allah is qadar. And with this qadar, He has given me hidayat. He has given me a software, how to operate it. And within that software, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me options that I've shown you two ways. Now it's up to you to select. You are playing chess on computer. You are playing cricket on computer. For example, there are two players in the chess. Software is the same. Qadar. It has been made qadar. Software is the same. But every time, each of the players puts the input differently and a different sequence, the result is different. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although it has made it qadar for me, determined it, but at the same time, He has given me a software, hidayah, so that I can use it and use my option. Now, in using the options again, there are najdain, two ways. If I accept the options of shaitan, who works through waswasa, you open the internet and you have all the options. The hacker, shaitan means hacker, remote, which we cannot see. Quran says that access to your mind, you cannot see it. Hacker, we cannot see it as access to my computer. So it has access. Either I accept the option given by the shaitan, by the hacker, and follow him, or I use my rationale. Wama sawaha, nafsin wama sawaha. What is that set of social genes which is balancing my nafs, so that I am not taken away by the shuhan nafs? If I can differentiate at that time on the internet, no, I don't have to go in this direction, and I don't accept the shuhan nafs, the instigation, the spur of the nafs, but I select the one of the najdain according to the rationale which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He has given me in this hidayat, then I'll be on the right path. So it's not a question of kismat that it is determined that I'll have to go to hell. It is through this uncertainty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a certainty for me to be certain that if I use the correct najz, correct salat, sirat is a way. Sirat is a way. It is one of the najdain. It is the straight, the shortest. Sirat is the way. Mazhab is the way I walk on it. This is the difference between the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Sirat is the way, direct way, shortest way, and Mazhab is the way I walk on it. Minhaj, it is the open. It's not a limited access like motorway. You can access this Sirat al-Mustaqim, way of Allah, one of the Najdain, from anywhere you are. Irji ila rabbik. Ya ayatun nafsul mutmainna irji. Come back, wherever you are. You can get on my way. It is minhaj, it's open. It's not limited access road. You can access any time from any point. It's minhaj. And then ultimately it becomes Sharia, the traded path which is continuously being traded by the people every day. And there are three Sharia: Sharia Musawi, Sharia Muhammadi, Sharia Isawi, and all these together make Deen Ibrahim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Al-Yawm akmaltu lakum deenakum. He completed the deen, not Sharia. He says, I completed your deen. And deen is Ibrahimi. It continues. Anyway, fundamental uncertainty of life, we can understand. It's a certainty also through this subject, but I'm leaving it here because then I'll be going into a different direction. Wallazi qadara fahada. And it is for good thing. Let me say only one thing. If we believe in this, but we will explain next time, we have to believe in one thing, that we can turn the kismat, we can turn the taqdeer. I'll explain this, I'll discuss this. And this is my legacy. This is what I want to leave as a legacy. We can turn this uncertainty, we can turn this kismat, we can turn this taqdeer, and with the belief that it will turn well for me, it will be good. I'm not worried about that it will be wasted. It will not be wasted. Allah has promised in Quran, La yudir amal al-amilin. If you work, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I'll not waste it. You will get the result. Have faith in me that you can turn it and it will turn well. It will turn good for you. It will not be wasted. La yudiya amal amilin. And this has been the experience of my life. We will discuss it inshallah later. But so this will come back again. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzat amma yasifuna wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك على كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. O Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. O Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. O Allah, make their graves garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. O Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. O Allah, we have our son Ma'raj. O Allah, grant all of them full and speedy recovery. O Allah, guide our children, protect them and make them righteous. O Allah, grant us the power and the ability that we may be grateful for the favor that you have bestowed upon us and our parent, and that we may do righteous deeds that are pleasing to you. O Allah, we seek from you all of the good, whether we know it or we don't. And we seek your refuge from all evil, whether we know it or we don't. O Allah, we ask with every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.